Hello, this is Uju Studio, Utsav Chakma. We have discussed about a lot of things in Flax Game Engine like materials, lighting and many kinds of things. So today we are going to set up the scripting for Flax Game Engine. So Flax Game Engine can be used by C# and C++ to code your game. And for this tutorial purpose, we are going to use the C# language. But the question is how to set up this thing, how to set up Flax Game Engine for developing games in C#. So for that you will need an IDE. An IDE is integrated development environment. So there are many kinds of IDEs available. For Flax Game Engine there are 3 different IDEs available currently. They are VS Code or Visual Studio Code, Rider, and finally Visual Studio Community, which is the popular and the standard choice of game development industry for coding any kinds of games. So that's why let's set up a Visual Studio Community for setting up Flax Game Engine using C# programming language. On this tutorial you will need Flax Game Engine installed. If you don't have Flax Game Engine installed, then you can use this video that you can see on your screen to learn how to install Flax Game Engine step by step, and make sure you can also create projects in Flax Game Engine. If we use Visual Studio, there are 3 versions available for us. First of all, the Enterprise, which is actually really heavy to pay. After that, Professional version, pretty expensive. But there is Visual Studio Community. Visual Studio Community is actually free, and you don't have to pay a penny if you are making video games without any kinds of extra services. So head to Google and search for Visual Studio Community like this. This leads to the page that you have seen before. On that page, click on download and make sure you have Visual Studio Community, not Professional or Enterprise. This must be Visual Studio Community that you are downloading. Click on the download button below of that text and it will download the Visual Studio somewhere where you want. Whichever part you choose to download the file to, remember the part of that file, because after downloading you will have to open that part from that installer that you are going to download right now. After downloading, head to the part where I said you to remember before, and there you will find that there is something called Visual Studio Setup. Double click on it to start the setup. After that you have downloaded Visual Studio Setup. Go on Available and click on this thing, Install. It's going to say Visual Studio Community. Click on Install first. This will load some modules. To add a module, you just click on this box and it will give a right mark inside of that box, which means that module is selected to start the installation. But we won't need all these modules, and don't even click on these modules that I have ticked already. You don't need them. But what you will need is individual components, and over here we will have to search for 5 things. Press .NNET, where there is something called .NET 6 over here and .NET 7 over here. Click on both of them and afterwards click on .NET SDK. There you go, tick it. And after that we will need C#. And there are 2 things we will need on here. First of all, this C# and Visual Basic Roslyn compilers, and the basic C# and Visual Basic. We will need these both of things. And when it comes to use C++, you will need to use Windows SDK and try to select the latest framework. If you are using Windows 10, then select the Windows 10 SDK. But if you are using Windows 11, then select the Windows 11 SDK. If you are not sure which Windows you are using, then just select both Windows 10 and Windows 11. And okay, this is the first one for the C++ thing. And the second one is MSBC. In MSBC, make sure you have selected PS 2017 C++ 6486 build tools. Now just click on this button so that the things you have selected can start the downloading process and installation process. So continue and go ahead and click install while downloading. After downloading, you can now actually safely close, and it means after this we have done, Visual Studio is set up for Flax Game Engine completely correctly. Now you can use Visual Studio for coding your game in Flax Game Engine, but you will have to set up something in the editor. Let's do that by opening Flax Game Engine. I hope you know how to create a project. What you will have to do is create a project in Flax Game Engine. If you don't know how to create a Flax Game Engine project, then watch this video on here and it will give you an idea how to create a project in Flax Game Engine. After that you have done, just open the project. After opening, you will have to go over here. First go to edit, editor options, then search for source code, and over here you can see this attribute, right? Source code editor. What you will have to do is change it to Visual Studio. First click on here, then click on this Visual Studio 2022, and by clicking here you can save it, and also by pressing Ctrl and S you can save it too. Now you can safely close, and Visual Studio is now going to support the Flax Game Engine. Now another thing, every time you add a script, you will have to go here, file, then generate project files. This is a safe option. Afterwards, okay, that's all. Visual Studio is now ready to run your scripts, but you will also have to learn how to add a script and make it run properly for your game. Let me tell you how to add a script first. You see this structure here, content folder. On there you can see your project's name. Click and expand this thing by clicking on the arrow. Your game asset will be contained by content folder inside your project, and the source folder contains all the scripts you create for your game. Inside the source folder you have this game thing, right? Click on that thing. That is a folder which expands other folders inside it. Now over here you will actually add your scripts on for your game. Now how to add a script? To add a script, make sure you have been inside source game folder, and over here right click, go on new and click C# script, and you can now rename it. Name it something like character. We are not going to create a character, but you can name it however you like. I will on here name it character. In your case you will name it to weapon, or let's say game mode, game state, or AI player, I don't know, character based, but whatever, the name doesn't matter, but it keeps the project fresh looking. Then after writing your name, press enter, and there you go, you have added your script. Now to edit the script, we will have to open it first in Visual Studio. First double click on the script you have created to open it, so we can edit it in Visual Studio when it's opened, and wait for Visual Studio to open up properly. It may take some time, but be patient and start your editing of your code. And right here you will actually see this window of Visual Studio. This is Visual Studio where you edit your code. So I don't think you will see exact things as I do, because my Visual Studio is pre-installed and yours one I expect to be new. You will see this blank folder. Now about this thing, right? Your scripts will be inside game, these here are your scripts that you have created. To open a script, you will actually have to double click on it over here, not on Flax Game Engine alone. And there you go. The script have been opened. This is share script, and you can actually edit it just like you edit in Microsoft Word or Notepad. Over there, press enter, write ABCD, and everything is just like Notepad except of some extra functionalities. You will actually use Visual Studio like that. So make sure every time you edit a script, you save it by Ctrl and S. After saving, it is not done. What you will have to do after that? After that you edited your script, you will have to actually minimize Visual Studio, then get over here and click on this compile scripts or recompile scripts. This is the thing you will have to press every time you edit your script, and after that the compilation progress will be shown in bottom right corner over here, this green bar. The green bar is gone. What does that mean? That means your script has been compiled and it is ready to run. Now, how to run a script for a game? Well, that's something about future that's coming in a future video explaining how C# actually works with Flax Game Engine framework. For now, I will show you how to do that very quickly. Just press an object, look for the scripts menu, and over there drag and drop your desired script that you want to run, and after drag and dropping that in the scripts folder, release it, and there will be the thing that you have created as C# script inside of a game object. Now inside of this game object, as you apply this character script, the character logic will run whenever you play it as the game on the game object you have created or attached the script over on. So right now, after attaching this script to the game object, you can actually now run it by pressing this button over here, which will run the script to, and the script will run the game object it is attached to. So we have learned how to set up Visual Studio for Flax Game Engine. We also checked how to add a script, and after adding script, what we will have to do. But in future, we are going to discuss about how to use C# scripts inside of Flax Game Engine. If you have a question, you can always join Discord of this channel from the description of this video. I am actually creating a military simulator game that is being developed in Unreal Engine 5. Red Army is a military simulator actually focusing on realism. I hope you will like it, so check it out on itch.io.